Nasılsın? Hey. Pleasure to be here. Very powerful presentation, Moran, well done. Next time we'll have everybody with devices, infrared spectroscopy, to analyze the brains at the surface cortex. Well done, but very, very potent value message. I'm very pleased to talk about big data because the last 2 months, all of the October and November, people were kind enough to invite me, and I gave not as many as Philip, but I was in Macau, in Asia, I was in Europe, different locations, even the Isle of Madeira, and also through Philip in Chile and Bolivia. And it's interesting because every time I suggest a number of topics, all dealing with future trends, technology, robotics, marketing, branding, everything about the future. In some cases, I gave them 21 topics of recent presentations that I've done the last 6 months, and everybody selected artificial intelligence. So I gave the last 2 months talks about artificial intelligence, and now it's very refreshing that I'll be talking about big data, because big data is the raw material of AI. So we're going to have a prognostic pick, just to have a quick look at big data. I'll be talking about metadata, I'll be talking about little data. It's very important because most of you, the vast, vast majority, are coming from small and medium-sized companies. I'll be talking about small data, little data, not just big data. I'll be talking about how this relates to intention economy, small data. Also, I'll be talking about incredible sensor technology. At the moment, we've got a huge number of devices connected. They're expecting in 2 years from now we'll have 1 trillion sensors. I'll be talking about machine learning. Everything behind artificial intelligence is based on machine learning, even more deep learning. And of course, data is the raw material, as I told you. I'll be talking about applications in marketing, well beyond the relational databases. We're talking about knowledge graphs. We're talking about virtualization of data. And of course, related to Moran's talk, we're talking about biometrics, facial coding, eye tracking. We're talking about sensors in our body. I'll be talking about that. And wearable sensors and blended reality, the morphing of everything together, data, web, wearable tech, etc. So these are more or less some of the topics that I want to do it, and I will do it in 30 minutes. But that is boring, my God. It's very boring data, especially when we're talking about zettabytes. Zettabytes 10 to the power of 21 zeros. Incredible, boring. But do you realize that IBM, Institute of Business Value, came up with a study saying that 90% of the data in the world has been created within the last 2 years. 2 years alone. Daunting, very, very frightening. But big data is about making predictions. It is now possible to leverage this large amount of terabytes, zettabytes data, messy, unstructured. 80% is unstructured data. Real world data that's coming from many, a myriad of sources, and so that allowed us to find patterns of data, movement of data, and of course, infer probabilities and analyze as well associations, correlations, etc. So we have more data speed, we have more storage capacity. Incredible. We have huge processing power. It's increasing all the time. We have more production tools, more social network usage, more online commerce, and also more mobile usage, new individual platforms, liquid media. Clearly, big data behind artificial intelligence, the rise of artificial intelligence, data models, processing power, big data. So big data to the fore is really the highlight here. For example, one of the applications, direct applications, is the rise of what we call metadata catalogs. Metadata will allow us to discover, to explore the data in a much more minutious way. we can have tags. The difference between this application of metadata is the uses machine learning. If, for those of you that know about deep learning or machine learning, the feature extraction and the classification is separate in machine learning and together in deep learning. We create tags, and these tags will help us understand the connections, the relationships between data assets, and of course, minimizing the time that we are doing so in order to find the most accurate data. This will help people to analyze the data, to make it worth this time of digging this data, understanding and discovering, process of understanding and discovering. So machine learning tags, searchable, what you call user interfaces, very, very important. So reduces the time it takes to trust the data, the time to find the data and accurately even query and ask questions in terms of the data file. So metadata is pretty much what you want to be, is in the eye of the beholder. Machine learning is really driving this accuracy, these very high accuracy levels. As more and more people are using apps, which are mainly artificial intelligence advisors, more data is collected, and machine learning will improve more and more and delivering more accurate advice. I'll come back to that. Another important issue is 2018 was really the year of data virtualization, meaning that you don't need to be a specialist. You don't need to have technical backgrounds. You can actually access the data for unlocking hidden concepts, understanding the data, and to reach some conclusions. So big data, little data. So huge amount of data. People talk about big data, but a lot of companies don't know how to deal with this data. The issue about gathering data coming from multiple sources, I'll show you in a minute, is incredible. But the analysis and the understanding of the data is a bit more difficult. And nowadays, some people are saying, wait a minute, but behind this huge amount of data, there are people, there are human beings, you and I. Would you like to be a unit of data storage? Probably not. Not 186. I don't think so. So we need to use ways to understand people. That's why some people are recommending things like phenomenological research, ethnographic research, walk with me, in situ research. Incredible. Living in arrangements. I must apologize to the translators because probably I'm older than Moran, so I speak faster than him. But incredible little data. So we need a paradigm shift as well. Amongst all this disruption, we need a paradigm. It's not just big data, which just came to the fore very, very recently. We need to think about, if bigger is better, what about small data? Understanding human beings, being there. And that is interesting, because you can use also a slice of the data, for those of you that know in statistics, what is bootstrapping, to analyze a fraction of the data through bootstrapping. But this is more than that. This is really, little data sometimes matters much more than big data. And little data, small data, is much more connected with intention economy, with intention, with preferences, with customer behavior. And that is very, very critical as well. So, yes, we have big data. We have this huge, massive data with terabytes, with zettabytes. We have this level of granularity that we can apply. We can apply all sorts of neural networks, architectures, and topologies, you know, support vector machine, grid computing, but small data can and puts humanity back into marketing. We spoke a lot about value, purpose, giving back to society. Here is an example how big data can actually also do the same. Interesting, famous Martin Lindström that actually came up with some ideas as well about small data, little data, and saying, well, you know, we're talking about if you are a marketer, you should be spending time with real people. It's like nowadays, you know, Gallup is being replaced by Google. It's not just marketing research, it's real people in their environments. You know, ethnographic research, a much more human-centric alternative to big data. The importance of being there, presence, real time, And it is very important. So again, the division, not division, complementarity between big data and small data. There's a huge data deluge. You know, data deluge in terms of, you know, we've been building a capability of capturing and interpreting the rapid growing volume and variety of data, but not always very successful. There are a number of misconceptions. For instance, oh, we have more data, so we can actually make more wiser and better decisions. Well, not true. Not true at all. More data can actually create confusion, and you can actually change your mind many, many times. Data eliminates uncertainty. Really? I don't think so. You know, the belief that uncertainty can actually be eliminated through more data can actually lead to very unrealistic expectations. To paralysis, management, marketing paralysis, to frustration as well. So companies are collecting data, but they are lost in that data. They collect data, they store data, but they are a bit shaky in terms of analyzing data. Look at that example. This is the United States, a recent survey. Only 28% of the companies said that their companies are dealing properly, are doing the good job analyzing website patterns in terms of traffic patterns. And normally, the percentage in a number of studies in Europe, North America, is always around 20, 30%, and then 70% vacuum. Look at another one. This is United States. Alteryx, data chaos, you know, analytic obscurity. 94% of companies saying, yes, we use multiple sources. Yes, fine. But then they said, you know, 64% say, the analysts, well, we need at least 5 different sources to combine and to analyze. 37% of them saying, oh, well, this is actually wasted time. Wasted time when we actually search for the data. When you are actually governing the data, analyzing the data, classifying the data, only 23% saying that actually is time wasted. So, again, 22% analytics share via email, but there is a lot of problems in terms of that. So, companies are struggling with data. You are in a much better position. A small company, a medium size, you have direct access to the data. You can have direct access to the customer base and to combine data with small data. Look at that. Otherwise, you have data silos. We were talking about earlier on with Philip about silo mentality, different functions. Oh, yes, data. Oh, this is accounting data. Oh, no, this is operations data. Oh, no, this is technology. So we have these silos, which can be a big, big hurdle. You have multiple ponds on this swamp. You are swamped by data. You have problems in terms of the governance of the data. And, of course, look at that. This is the famous Gartner, the #1 forecasting consulting company in America, in the world, in fact. And they ask, what are the big challenges in terms of big data for your company? 55% said, well, value. How can we find value in big data? Some said, well, we don't have the skills or capabilities. 36%. 33%, the governance of data, allowing us as well to measure risk of that analysis. And then 31%, 1/3 said, well, defining our strategy. What do you mean defining your strategy? You know, you don't need a big data strategy. What you need is a business strategy that contains, incorporates your data, relevant data, useful data, valuable data. So there are a number of trends. Machine learning is getting smarter and smarter. Obviously, Moran spoke from a neuroscience perspective, and I've been working on neuroscience for 11 years as well. But in this case, you know, with machine learning and deep learning, I can use, you were predicting images from the brain, remember Moran? And I can, in terms of neural networks, convolutional neural networks, I can predict what is the next image. Visual, the next image. So, and processing language, natural language processing as well, getting smarter. Data security is a very important issue, top of mind issue. Big data analytics will drive certainly more and more, better and better customer engagement. And also better insights that will drive mobile marketing, mobile sales. So big data, new behaviors, this will influence enormously the experience of your customers. Emotions influence what we remember, how we evaluate the encounters, and how we decide. But we need, as I mentioned to you in the title, to exploit beyond locked or locked up relational databases, the knowledge, better knowledge, the graphs of customer profiles. And there is a way, and now we are working on knowledge graphs. Knowledge graphs models analyzes complex relationships between one human being and a myriad of new entities. Social media, family, friends, brand sentiment, purchasing power, purchasing history, location, etc. Products that you buy. This is done through knowledge graphs. So data is really great for spotting patterns, but also one of the things that is mostly overlooked is the issue about contextual marketing, contextual management, contextual behavior. You can have a good return on connected data, but you cannot forget the context for business insights. So yes, you can have input, action, and outputs, but in between, you need to analyze the context where it all happened in real time. And for me, context is mainly built on 6 important pillars. You've got big data, the computation of the data, you've got wearable computing, and then you've got social network data, location data, and then, of course, sensor data. And I'll be showing you now 2 or 3 things. Look at that. At the moment, we're talking about 2018, we've got 150 million sensors already forecasted, detected, etc. They're expecting 1 trillion in 2 years from now. 40 million data points per second. This is huge. This is huge. For instance, you can actually use context-aware computing and sensors to be able to analyze where you are, to trigger questions, to get feedback from you, etc. Data capture. So software has been developed for your PC, pocket PC, mobile, whatever, to acquire that data, information about the context, what you are doing, and to provide you with a way to feedback to the company, to an organization, etc. So understanding location, understanding context data, for me, redefines marketing in the future. Apart from a lot of other philosophical insights, obviously. But nowadays we are moving to body data. We talk about just data, no, body data. So incredible, comes from your body, biometrics. Some of you probably, for instance, would you like to send a sensory message called a TAC to your boyfriend, your wife, to your husband? I can send you a sensory message like if we're giving a hug to your partner, etc. But body data, wearable technology, if you want tech talks, wearable devices, fashionable technology is really coming forward at an incredible exponential growth and speed. So incorporating computer, advanced electronic technologies, fibertronics, it's called fibertronics on your clothing, like Levi's is doing at the moment. So the design that incorporates practical functions as well, like a pair of jeans, but I'm measuring your senses as well, your emotions, your biodata. So wearable devices and all these, what we call activity trackers, are part of the Internet of Things, the Internet of everything. Since they are part of a network embedded with electronics, software, sensor technology, connectivity. And interesting enough is that you can exchange all this data with you, with the manufacturer, with the company, without any intervention of a human being. But you need to have permission from the person that you are analyzing, obviously. Apple is just now about to launch, they have a patent for collecting data on blood oxygenation, heart rate, and body temperature through your audio earbuds. That's a good example of body data and biodata. But you can have more. You can have single points of data. I can have that embedded in your jacket, in your hat. I can recognize you very easily. I can do more. I can actually find the unique characteristics of you. either being the hair, the length of the hair, either being the face, the color of your skin. I can analyze your clothing, if you're wearing a scarf or not, your body, biometric data, body data, the next stage of big data. And more, context. I just mentioned about context, very important. So can we have the knowledge and the context? Can we have devices that are becoming more useful? Yes, you can. I mean, these examples about film. You want to see a film or you want to see a theater. So yes, prefer genres that you like. Okay, favorite directors, favorite actors, top-rated films, location, what is the near theater, etc. What about the money that you normally pay? What time, show times? You would normally go with friends or family. What do they like? Oh yes, Susie likes, comedy, but the problem is that Jack likes action films. You can do that. All that can be done through body data. Incredible nowadays, we are now entering a new era, what we call smart tokens, if you will, based on a technology which is really optical sensing, visual sensing technology. So 3D images sensing by recognizing the tiniest gestures. You don't need a lens, you can recognize. So clearly captures information, rich scene contextual data in a tiny form using this optical sensing technology, smart tokens. And then, of course, wearable sensors. I don't know how many of you would like to have a jacket, like this, and all the time being monitored in terms of your biodata. Interesting. I had a project called IMOAir that relates to wearable sensors, which had about 6 different platforms. You have 2 of them which involve biodata and location casting, where you are contextual. Then you have an integrated platform called FEV, facial coding, eye tracking, and voice-speech analysis, voice prints, utterance analysis, the sounds that came out of your mouth, and then, of course, the hood of the jacket, EEG. EEG, in fact, NIRSIT, infrared spectroscopy. So, obviously, I had problems in terms of I am extremely ethical human being, ethical researcher, ethical academic. But I had a number of problems in terms of testing this jacket with people, because people are a bit wary about using this. But just because we have this huge amount of data, thousands of sensors supplying data, that does not mean the system is intelligent, does not really mean the system is accurate or actually very, very useful for your company. The important thing is, what are you going to do with the data and all this information? One of the problems is the issue about dark data. How can companies collect all this, store all this information and transform the data into insights to make a better engagement with customers, with people, with stakeholders? That's the problem. So, interesting, big data analytics will join forces with artificial intelligence, and it will impact our lives, daily lives, for better, smarter, self-learning algorithms, neural networks will do that, and devices. And we are reaching a point where we're going to have more and more analytics, self-serving analytics, self-service. So when you combine and converge cloud computing, Internet of Things, and big data, this will create a huge plethora, a huge array of new opportunities. It seems that everything now and in the future will have a sensor and will pass on information to the mothership. While innovations in storage have sped up the process of capturing data, we are still lagging behind of accessing the data and understanding the data. And this poses a major challenge for the future. And as I mentioned to you as well in my first slide, the title, we are moving more and more towards blended reality. Blended reality, I'm not talking about just virtual reality, augmented reality, mixed reality. We're talking about blended reality, combining the morphing of new media ecologies, for instance, individual platforms, liquid media, through your smartphone, through your wearable tech, earrings, whatever you want, with the web, with data. You know, another talk I gave, I talked about VR web, combining virtual reality with the web. So, geolocation, very, very important, and of course, collaboration economy in terms of the nexus points that surround your existence. Finally, just mentioning about an interesting fact nowadays, certainly it's happening in Europe, Northern Europe. I'm not sure about the United States. I don't have any examples about the United States, but, or Turkey, unfortunately, but maybe you can actually help me with that, is the era of data consumer. Consumers are actually standing up and saying, wait a minute, you are using my data. It's data mining with a Y. My data. You have two options. Either you provide me a good service or a good product, or you have to pay for it. And that is interesting. Data consumer. A love-hate relationship between us as human beings and the users of our data. I am my data, belongs to me. I'll give you the example of my electricity power supplier in Scotland. Okay? It's called Scottish Power. The owner is not Spanish, a Basque company called Iberdrola. And they are normally ranked bottom in terms of customer satisfaction. And now a number of people saying, okay, if you carry on like this, not providing me with the best solutions, I want you to pay me £250 a year. That is the power of my data. And even there is a companies, this is very interesting, a company, Velvet, a product, Out60 device, which allows homes, households, people to sell leftover data. You've got data you want, and also a phenomenon linked with that is the people are more and more taking, listen, I've got all this data, this bio data, I'm fine. Can I have a better premium for my insurance? So this issue about data, personal data, and me having control of that data is very, very important for the future. And I'm finishing with two jokes. One is, well, we have decided to take big data to the next level. Humongous data, more higher than huge data. And please beware of this. Are you sure this is the way you get data into the cloud? I don't think so. Eshekur Edrin. Okay? Thank you so much.